The first film I want to talk about is Thanksgiving. Now, I thought I would bring it up now because Thanksgiving just passed, and I did not see it the day before Thanksgiving like I wanted to. I really kind of wanted to get that into the holiday, but I saw it Sunday. Here's what I have to say about Thanksgiving. This is going to contain spoilers. We're going to get into spoilers, but my original thoughts about like even seeing this movie, I hadn't heard anything about it. I didn't know it was coming out, and it's Eli Roth. He's back. It's based off the commercial from Quentin Tarantino's, his collab and with the Grindhouse feature, double feature, and Eli Roth's commercial is in that double feature. So they decided to make a movie about it and base that off that fake movie that never existed. I gotta say, man, I had a blast. I had a blast with Thanksgiving. I did not think this movie was going to be good. And because I just kind of saw it. I was like, oh, Thanksgiving slasher. There's not a lot of horror Thanksgiving movies. There's a few out there. There's not a lot of Thanksgiving like films that I'm like. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is one, right? Some people like Fantastic Mr. Fox and see that as a Thanksgiving movie, but there really aren't a lot. Charlie Brown Thanksgiving is a lot. That's not a movie though. That's a special. So I gotta say though, I will be watching this movie on Thanksgiving mainly because I'm sick and twisted, I guess. This movie, I haven't had an experience like this since Terrifier 2 last year. That's how gory things are in this movie. It's really gory. And the kills are fun and explicit and twisted. And I thought I would warn people before they end up checking this movie out because that's what it is. It's a really fun slasher film. Now, I've seen it compared to Scream, and it's Scream, but it's Thanksgiving and it's a whodunit. You got to find out who the killer is and blah, blah, blah. And it's high schoolers and people get drunk and blah, blah, blah. It's all there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's bad, though. Just because I'm seeing this formula that works with horror movies, it's all fun. These aren't the movies that are going to win Oscars. These are the movies that are just, I want to sit down, relax, have a fun time watching a crazy psycho killer kill some people and then find out who the person is at the end. I have a soft spot for that. The kills in this movie, I'm just never going to forget them. They're just very entertaining kills. There's kills that stick with me. And as far as the characters go, the movie's basically about a tragedy happens at a Right Mart, the store Right Mart, at a store on Black Friday, and a year later, a person is upset about those killings and that tragedy, so they're getting revenge on the people associated with it and people responsible for it. And I thought that was really fun, and it's clever because then you're seeing a lot of people you hate get killed in these grotesque ways. And I like that. I like seeing that happen because it kind of satisfies the screwed up part of our brain that like, ugh, like I hate that person. Like I wish something but then you see it and you're like, whoa, like, you know what I mean? Like, so the kills in this movie, and we're going to get into spoilers from now on. The kill with the dumpster, with the car hits the dumpster and it splits the waitress's body in half. That got me. I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. That's the first like real kill of the movie. And then there's other ones like the chainsaw one that gets crazy too. But one I really, it got me crazy was at the end in the third act with the slasher film with the Thanksgiving dinner and obviously the Thanksgiving parade that happened before that, where the turkey's head literally gets cut off, and then I think it was a dad, his head just gets booshed in by like a pole in front of his kids. And the kid, no, literally the blood gets splattered onto the kids. I was like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. And it's one of those violent movies that is also very like campy. And so my audience was laughing throughout the whole time because the kills are so absurd and so designed to make you go like, oh my God, and just kind of like laugh to kind of ease the tension that you're feeling. The third act, where they're all at the dinner table, and the stepmom who wanted to open up the store again and kind of has been forcing her ways onto what the dad is feeling. Um, when she gets cooked as a turkey and then her head's off, I was just like, what am I watching? And there's literally a part where the killer cuts off a part of her leg and feeds it to the dad. And the dad just throws up. It gets crazy. It's insane. And if you don't like movies like that, because I think the cinema score, which I don't typically go by cinema score, I don't think it's a great way to review stuff, but it just surveyingly uh reviews gives a score on what the audience felt of the film, like just everyday theater goers. I think it got like a B minus, which isn't a good cinema score. It's not a good cinema score in that fashion. Like if you go to a movie like Grown Ups, like A is like the general for that, and I think this movie's better than something like Grown Ups. So clearly I think people weren't expecting how screwed up the violence would get in this movie, but I like stuff like that. Maybe I'm just sick and weird, but I just really enjoyed how entertaining it was. And it's paced pretty well. Um, the end gets a little strange. And I will say, the killer's revealed. I was not expecting the killer. But sometimes when you don't expect the killer, it doesn't necessarily work as well. Like I had that issue with Scream 6, and this movie actually kind of is similar to Scream 6. Patrick Dempsey's in this film. Patrick Dempsey was in Scream 3. He's playing a cop again here in Thanksgiving. And you find out at the end that Patrick Dempsey is the killer. Now, it's very weird to see Patrick Dempsey in something like Enchanted. And then you see him as this, apparently the guy that was doing all this crazy fucked up shit. But that's what he is. Patrick Dempsey is the killer in this film. And there's parts of it where I'm just kind of like, there's some little hints that I caught at the beginning of the movie where Dempsey is over for Thanksgiving dinner. We find out he was, involved, in this woman's affair, and that she was pregnant, and that when she died at the beginning of the movie at Black Friday, then it leads to this kind of this that's where he gets all the hate from, right? So it gets to this point though where I didn't think it was Patrick Dempsey, because at the beginning of the movie he says, single cop, and I'm like, this Patrick Dempsey's single? Like what? Something must be going on with that, and clearly that line was kind of put in there so that if you rewatch the movie, you obviously understand the meaning behind that. You just don't believe that Patrick Dempsey's single. Like I even laughed at myself, like Patrick Dempsey's single. Okay, that's strange. And that's probably, but I never thought Patrick Dempsey would be the killer. He's too much of like a pretty boy to do all this screwed up stuff. So that's why it actually works as a shocking reveal. But there's times in the movie where I kind of nitpick on the back and I'm like, okay, so this guy's a sheriff and he's just like, they're looking for this killer specifically around the high school. And I don't know, maybe I missed it, but like, is there not one person that wonders where Patrick Dempsey is? And maybe they overlook it because he's the sheriff. They're thinking there's no way the sheriff will do this. But is there not one person that thinks that where the hell is Patrick Dempsey at the moment? So I look back at moments like that. And ultimately, when he's revealed to be the killer, a lot of the intentions and backstory are kind of just sprayed up upon us. And he's a cop, so it makes sense that he would kind of do some of the things that the killer does in this movie, how he's very crafty with weapons and knows all that stuff. They try to hint at certain points with several different characters. As a guy who tries to sell guns to the high school, you think, okay, he knows guns, so keep an eye on him as for weapons. And, he does the knife thing and all that stuff. And I like all of it. It's fun. It's a fun ride. And then when you find out Patrick Dempsey the killer, you think, okay, that's cool. It doesn't ruin the movie or anything for me. But it's just kind of like, well, you're kind of just spewing all this information about why he's doing these kills. And it's like, all right. So it just kind of feels out of nowhere. And I understand that's the conundrum you face in slasher movies. So it works perfectly fine. But it's just something that'll bug you if, you've typically not a fan of these slasher films and how they go. Also, the ending is very strange. It sets up a sequel. Um, At least that's how I took it, because you don't see Patrick Dempsey's body get fried. And then our main character, I'm forgetting her name, but our main character, she starts having nightmares. And another thing too is like there's this whole situation with the boyfriends that I didn't really care too much about. Um, Her ex-boyfriend was injured during Black Friday. He disappeared, shut people off for a year, and then now she's dating a complete douchebag that I just couldn't stand the entire movie. Just couldn't stand him. I was honestly hoping something would happen to him. But in the sequel, we'll see if there is a sequel. But this film ultimately pulled off what I was expecting. I wanted to go in here just seeing a fun, groovy, kind of killing holiday movie. It's exactly what I got. Like, exactly. And it was actually better than I thought it was be because of the crazy kills. I am not gonna forget I went home, I was talking to my brothers, I was like, guys, like, you gotta see this movie. Like, and I got it because one of them's into horror and stuff like that, but like the other, not too much with jump scares. And I'm like, you got to see this. Like, you're gonna go, what with these kills? They're very creative, and that's what Eli Roth is really good at. And there was not much more I could take away from it from a story standpoint. It's fairly simple. But if you enjoy going to these slasher movies, seeing crazy, awesome kills, being kind of surprised and at the end, and just being along for a ride, that's what Thanksgiving is. And there's no movie like it because of the holiday, because of the significance of the first 25 minutes about the tragedy of Black Friday, how awful people can get during a sale like that. Whew, man, there's a lot to like in Thanksgiving.